In this video, we'll be creating our first custom clip to create custom behavior for a timeline. We'll make our custom clip activate the collision of our sword while the character swings it. In the hierarchy panel, select the sample character, and in the inspector, click on the assigned timeline to open it. Then, in the timeline panel, at the left column, right-click and select the observable track. We're going to create our first custom clip that will switch the collision of the sword on and off. In the project panel, right-click and create a C# script. We will call it hitbox activation, and we'll double-click on it to open it in our code editor. And replace everything in the file with the code provided in the defining gameplay guide. Let's go back so that Unity compiles it. Now, if we go back to the timeline and we right-click on the observable track, we can see the hitbox activation we just created. Let's select it. Next, we define when and for how long will the hitbox remain active. Certainly not more than the animation's duration. For reference, we will open a preview of our sword swing animation. Select the animation in the timeline, then head over to the inspector and click on the same name. In the project panel, click on the highlight one. If you don't see the animation preview in the inspector, try dragging it up from the bottom first. Then click on the lock in the inspector so that we don't lose the preview, should we need to drag the clips in the timeline. We can figure out over what frame should the hitbox activate. For this example, we will set it to start at frame 20. And we will continue fiddling with the preview to know when should the hitbox deactivate. In our case, it will be at frame 38. Once done with the timing, we'll unlock the inspector. Finally, to add purpose to our hitbox activation clip, we will apply it in the script that is attached to the sample character. Double-click on it to open it in our code editor. We will be adding code from the defining gameplay guide, a line that accepts a game object with a collider. Another, to listen for any hitbox activation clips and run a function if we are within the activation window. And lastly, for the async function itself where, if called, first it'll activate, then wait until the end of the clip's window, and by the end of it, it will remain deactivated. The code uses the R3 library, so we'll include that as well. We're done editing the code, so let's go back and let Unity compile it. Notice that the model doesn't come with a collider for the sword, but we can grab one from our demo. In the project panel, look for Fighter and double-click on the prefab to open it. Then, in the hierarchy panel, look for the hitbox game object and copy it. Now, clear the search bar and exit the prefab editor. Then, look for the game object called Swordbone, right-click on it and select Paste as Child. Select the hitbox game object and make sure that the collider is disabled and visible. Finally, in the hierarchy panel, select the sample character, then drop our hitbox game object into the hitbox property of our script. We're good to go. It's time to hit the play button. As long as we have the sample character selected, we can see the collider lighting up as it activates.